good video that I wanted to watch. It's made by Kana, who I'm being told by my chat is a turbo nerd. I really appreciate the turbo dorks in the community who aren't like very aggressive and say, I'm the only motherfucker who should be praised. This guy's going through everything that people are worried about for Arknights Endfield. And I did a lot of clarity in trying to calm the people freaking the out about the combat and the gacha system. But I would actually love to see what another creator thinks about this game, as well as the like to dislike ratio is pretty good. So yeah, I'm down to watch this. Let's see what he says.
Haven't noticed, Astra Yao is on the horizon.
Yep.
Wuthering Waves 2.0 is absolutely fantastic, and in general, gacha games.
Dude, I need to play Wuthering Waves. He shouldn't have brought it up. I need to play right now, bro. I'm so down bad for that game. I need to play today. I'm gonna play today. I'm gonna play today. I'm gonna play today.
Are thriving.
100%
I actually have
today.
something way more insane to confess. I've become wildly obsessed with the new game. And it's not even released yet. But it's true. I'm absolutely infatuated, shocked, and spending over 16 hours a day playing Arknights Endfield. Before you ask, no, this isn't sponsored. Though, yes,
that's fucking ridiculous.
I did just beat the entirety of the beta while on less than 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night. Today, though,
I wonder how long it took him, because the beta is most likely going to be the 1.0 launch. I'm hoping we get at least 60 to 80 hours of gameplay. For a gacha game, I think that's fine. I think for Wuwa, I put like 105, 110 hours until I beat everything, which I was very, very, very happy with. But the systems for this game are so complex, it might last even longer.
I'll be breaking down everything you need to know about Arknights Endfield. However, before anything
doing
else,
all that
I do
work
want to tell
for
you
an
guys
account
that
that
I
you don't
aim to give
keep
you
is
a real,
Jesus.
honest, gacha addict biased take of everything that I've learned and experienced while actually having completed everything that the beta has to offer.
I think this is great because I'm about to give you the most gacha casual take there is, because I'll be real, I do believe that every gacha game should be played slowly and very, very, very casually, because that's how they are by design. I feel like playing as much as I did for Wuthering Waves was not the play to do, but I just couldn't fucking help myself. It was so goddamn good. I'm very curious what the Turbo Nerd take is.
Without further ado, let's get into it.
Really
to
good
begin with, we need to actually talk about the game, the systems, the story, everything you would care to know about when it comes to Arknights. First, let's talk about the visuals. The UI of Arknights is out of this world, very crisp, very responsive, and extremely high quality, especially given that Arknights 1.0 certainly gave inspiration to a lot of sci-fi themes and menus in the gacha space as a whole. The game itself is also amazing
the UI is
and
beautiful.
gorgeous, though at this point, most people have come to realize that graphics and 3D models that kind of look like this almost come standard in the industry because of game engines like Unreal Engine or Unity being popular. That being
Yeah, I believe Arknights Endfield is actually on Unity, which is very good for the overall player base, because UE5 actually really tanks the processors of lower end phones, whereas Unity is pretty much accessible on everything. I think Arknights Endfield is probably the most beautiful gacha game we've seen so far. Yeah, the graphics are astounding and the expressions are astounding. And it's not too cartoony. I do like the way that Zenless Zone Zero is presented, but I think the Arknights Endfield more serious but lighthearted expressions are also really nice.
being said, things like the combat special effects are also neat yet satisfying. The transitions between combat in cutscenes and the stunning environments that you traverse through while exploring all are very pleasing and make a great experience. And before you mention it as well, no, I didn't forget about them. I also really like the way that the characters look.
Yeah,
now, of course,
they're gorgeous.
things like appreciating characters without being able to play or test them makes things a bit more difficult and definitely more subjective, but sincerely, the characters all look fantastic.
They're so
while
cute, it's
each
ridiculous.
also has their own identity or unique theme that really glues their design together. Now, I know what you're thinking though. Even if everything in the game looks spectacular,
People have shit computers and blame the game. Well, yeah, obviously, why wouldn't they, bro? You gotta understand, who are the people playing these gacha games, man? Okay, they're like me. They're all dumbasses. Okay, they're not gonna take responsibility. They're not gonna say, oh, dude, this game made for PS5 doesn't run on my fucking phone, my cell phone from 2004. What a shit game. Devs, give me money.
though, Kana, who cares? The most important aspect of a game is how enjoyable it actually is. After all, games are meant for relaxation, having fun, or enjoying yourself, right? Well, guys, I hate to break it to you, this game broke
Fucking sucks.
every single expectation I had going into the beta. To begin with, I believed Arknights Endfield to have taken more inspiration from Genshin or share the common action combat theme
It really doesn't feel like Genshin at all. Yeah, it feels more like Xenoblade. Yeah, it does not feel like Genshin at all.
that other games in the gacha scene have used recently. And while the game does have action combat in it, this is such a misrepresentation of the game as a whole. Yes, you will certainly fight frequently in Arknights Endfield, but no, that is definitely not what you spend every moment in the game doing. Instead,
Yeah, like, I would actually say, this is the first game where if somebody is calling it the Genshin killer, they are just clickbaiting, and they are just farming. Like, I'll be real. I'm probably going to call this game a Genshin killer, but it has nothing to do with Genshin. It has nothing to do with Wuthering Waves. This is like it's really it stands on its own. There's barely any similarities between this game and the other big 4 games. It's a very unique game. It's very nice.
We now need to take a moment to address base building. This is an absolutely essential part of Arknights Endfield, and while it can be confusing at times, anyone who has ever played Satisfactory, Factorio, or any base building automation / exploration related game will definitely be excited. The main reason base building is so important is because it powers up your characters in the same way that you'd otherwise expect something like relics, disk drives, or echoes to give your characters stats. This makes the system feel like a critical part of Enfield's gameplay loop, and it also means that anytime you're improving your factory or your overall base, you're simultaneously improving your character's strength too. To be clear, what I'm describing right now is a completely free-to-play, no RNG system that gives your character stats, and it isn't even a small or insignificant amount either. Some of the equipment that you unlock, and
it just depends on how much you're gonna have to fuck around with this fucking base, bro. I'm so nervous about this, and I've seen a lot of comments of people very excited for this, but like I'm just like not one of those people. I'm really hoping I can get over it, but we'll see.
Gain access to by leveling up your base have some of the most ridiculous effects I've ever seen, and that's not all. Another amazing and satisfyingly designed aspect of the base building in Arknights is how the base actually contributes to your overall character progression and world. What I mean by this is that having more recipes unlocked in your base or unlocking new levels also gives you access to new mechanics that allow you to explore the world differently or even better. This includes things like explosives or even consumables that you can use in combat to keep yourself healthy. Now, again, if you're someone who enjoys base building or automation in general, you're in luck. Enfield has a lot of that, and there are plenty of buildings or products that need optimizing, exploring, or discovering so that you can make gear faster or more efficiently. This isn't the only thing you'll need to make, however, as the game also allows you to have multiple sub-bases with NPCs and allies that need resources themselves to improve their own areas, which unlocks new features. So in short, the way...
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Everything that you just said does not make me feel better about this system. This will be a pain. Now, it'll be a pain that's worth it because you get a bunch of really good shit from it, and thank God for that. So maybe it will feel rewarding because of how much you will get out of it, but man, setting this shit up is gonna suck fucking ass. I really hope they add something to streamline this process for casuals or for people who don't really care to participate in this. I would very happily take a skip button and just press the auto button
that base building has been designed gives something to both base building enjoyers, but also character building or action combat focused players too. Now, thus far, I've avoided talking too much about combat because I have a whole section dedicated for it right now. So let's actually dive deep into combat as a whole.
The first base building guide that gets posted on YouTube is going to have well over 1.5 million views 6 months after launch. Absolutely.
Arknights Endfield plays like a mix between Xenoblade Chronicles and basically any action combat game that you'd like to think of. You could say it's similar to Wuthering Waves with some of the dodging or attacks, or you could even say it's similar to Genshin given how reliant the game is on elements.
No, it's nothing like Genshin at all. That's cap. It's not like Genshin at all.
But here's what I found as someone who has built roughly...
That's like saying, oh yeah, dude, a hamburger and a cauliflower steak are similar because they both use salt and pepper. They're just not similar, man.
4 to 6 units to or near max investment. Unlike in Zenless Zone Zero or Wuthering Waves, elements play a significant role in direct combat, since mixing elements together for reactions in direct combat is very useful. This means that although in something like Zenless Zone Zero or Wuthering Waves, you may find bonus damage from taking a fire character against a cryo unit, this is not really the case or focus of Enfield's combat as a whole. In some cases, activating elemental reactions is how you enable your character to use special abilities or skills, and because of this, the damage, the usefulness, and the utility of elements being applied properly should not be overlooked or underestimated. Regarding other combat systems, knockdown and crowd control abilities that stop enemies from moving are extremely valuable too, but this is actually because of dodging. On that note, let's talk about dodging because this is a mechanic that will take some getting used to.
So the thing with dodging is that this is the correct take. So it's not the dodging that's hard to get used to. It's hard to get used to how the enemies attack. And the reason why that is because we have been conditioned where when the flash happens, that's when you press dodge. but it's not when you press dodge. You dodge shortly after the flash, not during the flash. And when you have that mindset in mind, you will dodge a lot more frequently. So it's just kind of dismantling what years of Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero has done to your brain, which is light flash, press dodge. Parry, circle, close, hit parry. And now it's wait a little bit, then dodge.
Other action combat games where dodging is often used to take risks and maximize damage, all while just staying out of danger, it's handled much different here. The window
Yeah, because in Arknights Endfield, if you do dodge, you are going to sacrifice damage, which I do think is a good trade-off, right? Because when you dodge, it resets your combo. And your combos are how you get your biggest damage out. So it is kind of trading offense for defense, which makes sense.
The window to perform a successful dodge is much shorter, but more than anything else, many of the
Did you see that? I want you to look at the archer.
window to perform a successful dodge is
So watch the archer here. Watch
much
the archer.
shorter,
Right? So he goes.
more than anything.
It flashes. Now, any normal player would dodge there, right? Any normal player would press dodge the moment that happens.
else.
It still hasn't shot. Do you see that? Now it shoots. So that's why it's a little bit hard, because the flashes bait you. They signify an attack will happen, but it doesn't happen immediately. So you have to wait a little bit.
Any of the abilities or attacks in Arknights Enfield will punish you or feel worse when trying to weave dodges with them. And this isn't even factoring in.
So it's just stupid and annoying. You can take it that way, absolutely. I kind of consider it kind of like Mikiri counter from Sekiro. You got to wait a little bit. You got to get used to the timing. But yeah, if you just want to call it stupid and dumb, absolutely, you absolutely could. I'm not really sure why they do this, but it's a choice, and I think it's fine.
Attack frequency from enemies. To illustrate one example specifically though, let's talk about battle skills. Giving context quickly, battle skills are abilities performable by any character.
Yeah, I think if you just get hit by those attacks, you're just greedy and stupid.
Similar to resonance skills or EX special abilities in other gacha games, but to put simply, it costs one resource bar to activate one of these skills. However, with the way that dodging and attack patterns from enemies work, this will sometimes cause you to need to perform a dodge as you are also casting a battle skill. The reason this is an issue is because as of now, this will actually use up and not refund the resource that you used as a result of you having to interrupt or dodge your ability, and this can just feel very uncomfortable or unsatisfying at times. In addition to this, performing multiple dodges in a row feels very clunky since there's actually a delay in between each performable dodge, and this also isn't factoring in.
You need to have a delay between each performable dodge. Otherwise, there's just like absolutely no skill involved in the game. If you can just spam it with no punches, like dodge, 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 you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing about Sekiro that people really don't talk about enough, is that so many people can just cheese fights by, instead of learning the actual attacks, you can just spam parry because there's no delay. You just spam it, right? And you can just get lucky and just win.
In the stamina system, which you'll also
or panic rolling in Elden Ring, which I, as a proud panic roller, I'm glad it exists, but this just means that the combat is going to be quite harder.
have to consider so you don't run out of the ability to dodge at all. Now, despite what I've described, none of this is nearly as disorienting as the fact that your battle skill and ultimates are not guaranteed to have invincibility frames. This means that if an enemy can swing at you and deal knockback or massive damage, you'll have to either disengage and run away entirely, or you'll have to use a dodge and pray that you aren't forced to use a multi-dodge and get hit in the process. Moving away from dodges though, let's actually talk about specifics regarding.
Yeah, it is crazy, but I do think Arknights Endfield in current state is probably the hardest combat in any gacha game, as far as execution-wise goes on the player side. But we're going to have to see for any bosses that actually require a large amount of skill to overcome, because so far I have not seen any truly difficult fights. Nothing on the scale of a hologram from Wuthering Waves, absolutely.
Characters and some encounters. Gilberta, as of now, is a 6-star character that is given for free after 3 days of playing the game, and let me tell you, this character is very, very strong. If a wind character that vacuums and crowd control.
Funny you say you didn't beat Sekiro, yet you say it's easy. Okay. This is the hardest fight in Sekiro, which is the Lone Shadow and Vile Hand, and I already beat it. I already beat this fight. I did not fight Ishin. I cheesed this fight offline, and I beat the Owl Father, first and second. So what's it even matter, man? Yeah, I didn't beat Ishin, but I beat every other fight in the game. It's the same thing as Skyrim. I have 4,000 hours in Skyrim, and I've never killed Alduin. I've never beaten Alduin because I just don't want to. Proof? What? You want me to boot up Skyrim right now? Hell no. That's just on my fucking Xbox. But yeah, do I even have Skyrim on my Steam? No, I only have 15 hours played on PC. But on my Xbox and my PS3, listen guys, Skyrim was on a lot of different consoles, to be fair. I don't like doing the final fights. I don't know what it is. I've never liked doing final fights.
Controls enemies together while also being very powerful at the start of a game's release. Sounds very familiar.
I mean, Skyrim was on the fridge, guys.
Yes, she's basically Venti, but this time you're guaranteed to get her. Lavatine is another 6-star.
Gilberta is one of the cutest characters I've ever seen in a Gacha game. Who the fuck is Gilberta? See, she had a different name in Arknights. I think her name was Angelina in Arknights, I believe. Hold up. Yeah, see, this is what I know her as, which is Angelina. And yeah, she is fucking adorable. She is so cute. I think Gilberta is such a dumb name. But Angelina, bro, she's so hot. It's crazy. I mean, she ain't Yvonne, though. You know what I'm saying? She ain't Yvonne. Her personality in Enfield's amazing. Yeah, super cute. I also love Chen's personality, too. It's nice. A genuinely, like, happy, cute character.
Character, but also one of the first limiteds that is currently pullable as of now. I definitely noticed that, especially compared to other DPS, her damage was off the charts, and she also destroyed everything easily, especially early on. Now finally, I do want to comment on a few of the bosses and enemies that I fought, as there were a few of note, but I won't go too far in detail since some of them are spoilers. That being said, there were a number of bosses that had designs in the way that Wuthering Waves bosses have mechanics to look out for, and this includes things like dive bombs, meteors raining from the sky, and multi-phase fights. To be honest though, a lot of these fights felt a bit less comfortable since the more restrictive dodge system in place caused movement to feel more limited or clunky, but they were still definitely manageable. Overall though, the combat definitely felt much better once I got higher level, as new sets, levels in my characters, and general investments in—
Yeah, maybe they'll add a stat into the game like adaptability, which lets you dodge more and your iframes be longer. Yeah, a game called Dark Souls 2 implemented that, and people really liked that stat, bro. People really liked it. Yeah, bro, let's add that.
Damage led me to experience content that was difficult, but simultaneously rewarding as well. However, as a final side note and just a gripe of mine, there is this one flamethrower character who you end up fighting a lot, as it's something that you farm for character materials, but that character is super annoying to fight since, again, you don't have any invincibility frames to land your abilities against him in most cases, and unless you use a cryo or ranged character to deal with him, he just stands there freaking out and you have to wait for him to calm down before you can start hitting him again. Now,
it sounds to me like the first limited 5-star should be a cryo character then, huh?
next, I wanted to talk about the more broad systems that are in the game that I felt were actually worth talking about. Gear and weapons are well themed with plenty of interesting passives or designs that feel catered specifically for a special character or gameplay concept in mind. Now, although this is the case, that doesn't mean that you can't experiment with or test out new combinations, as this definitely feels like something that is rewarded or actually incentivized, as you don't actually need 4 of your 4 total equipment slots being the same set, and rather you only need 3. There were also small things that gave the game personality, and this
I think making sure that not everything has to be perfect and is still efficient is so nice, especially when it comes to the tedium grind of getting artifacts. I think that's great.
Included things like puzzles.
I am an active purveyor of broken sets. I've always been an enjoyer.
Always being in the form of
that being
shapes
encouraged
or
is really nice.
Special identifiable icons like hearts or symmetrical shapes. We were also introduced to things like drastically different exploration routes after you completed a challenge that would then open up and make exploration easier for you. And truthfully, there were so many other instances like this in the game that really made it feel like the developers cared about the game that they were designing. Now, leveling up the world also felt even more rewarding compared to other experiences I've had, since it not only increased the level and drops from enemies, it also gave more ore while providing an increase to the special rare limited materials scattered across the map. This increase in resources across the board not only increased the speed at which you could make new gear, but also acted as a way for you to gain additional materials that you would need for things like upgrading your characters or promoting your weapons. The final comment I'd like to mention about Enfield systems is that constellations or multiple copies of characters can be strong, but it's not necessarily for the reason that you're thinking of. Although the expected reward for having multiple of the same character is a significant damage increase, for instance, I found that one of the most valuable aspects of certain characters' additional copies was actually unlocking additional resource generation or reduced costs to cast their ultimates. The best value I found by unlocking constellations or getting multiple copies of the characters was actually the more fluid and smooth gameplay loop that it provided. This is because the added effect of things like bonus SP or reduced ultimate cost kept
I'm hopefully going to be playing Arknights Endfield with the mentality of every 4 and 5-star character I will have max copies, and then every 6-star character I have will have no copies. I'm hoping every character can feel smooth at that, and I think that's fine as a dev to push out. But I really don't enjoy this new system that HSR is pushing out, where you're going to want to have at least 1 to 2 extra copies of the character and their light cone to make them feel optimal. It's just so fucking frustrating. It feels so punishing as a fucking player, realizing that devs want you to spend $1,200 a minimum to secure an S2 or a E2 S1. It's so bad. Just have your main characters be fine at just 1 copy, because asking them to pull any more than that is just fucked up, in my opinion.
Combat much more active and prevented me from having to wait around endlessly.
Like, I'm a guy where it's like, okay, I'm okay if you want me to pull the character and their weapon. I'm okay with that. But when you have to pull multiple copies, it's just so fucking depressing.
For my cooldowns or my ultimate energy to regenerate. And now the final system I want to talk about is actually in regard to the gacha system. This is an extremely hotly debated topic, so let me explain this clearly. A single character pull in this game costs 500 premium currency, and with it, a 10 pull therefore costs 5,000. A 6-star character has a 0.8% chance of appearing while pulling, and by contrast, there is an 8% chance to receive a 5-star. Every 10 pulls, you are guaranteed
0.8 is great. I believe the usual average for pulling a 5-star in the higher end gachas is kind of 0.5. So 0.8 I'm pretty happy with. I would have much preferred 1 to 2%, but obviously I think that's Nikkei's rate. I think Nikkei's rate is 2%, I think. But 0.8 is okay. I wish they would have just made it a flat 1%. This means if it's 0.8, that means your odds of pulling a 5-star or a 6-star is, I believe, every 120 pulls you're guaranteed a 5-star. That's what or at least that's the average.
To receive a 5-star,
but
at 80
standard?
pulls,
Okay,
you are actually guaranteed a 6-star, though there is a 50-50 chance of you receiving a different 6-star than the one listed on the limited rate up banner. At this point, everything is similar to or familiar enough to other systems in the general gacha / new age Hoyoverse gacha landscape, but where things change is what happens.
0.8 is FGO rates. Yeah, but FGO doesn't have any fucking pity, right? This game does have pity, which is very nice.
Happens if you actually lose this initial 80 pull 50-50. Upon this happening, 2 things go into effect. First, the necessary pulls to guarantee the character is reduced from 80 to 40, and second, once hitting the additional 40 pity, or in total 120 pulls, you are guaranteed to receive the limited 6-star character whose banner you selected. Now, the reason why things are controversial, especially with the character banner, is because of the following. Pulls on this banner do not carry over to the next, and despite being guaranteed the limited rate up banner for the first time when you pull, any subsequent dupes or additional pulls on this banner are a 50-50 permanently and do not guarantee you the character as it did before. Being truthful, I understand the outrage and anger behind a system like this, but from pulling and playing through the game with its current premium currency economy, I have some thoughts. First, I do want to say that the constellations for characters can be significant at times, but they are certainly not insane enough to justify needing or even requiring multiple copies of a character. Additionally, if you aren't someone who would be pulling for multiple copies of a character, you actually can save upwards of 40 or 60 whole pulls depending.
Yeah, so once again, this system is really good for low spenders and free-to-plays, but it's very bad for whales and dolphins. So yeah, this game is going to incentivize the big spenders to not.
Depending on what game you compare it to, with games like Genshin or Zenless Zone Zero having a 180 guaranteed pity, with a game like Wuthering Waves, as far as I could tell, actually requiring 160. Therefore, this can then be amazing, since technically the pity to receive a guaranteed would then be 120 instead of, well, 160 or 180. Now,
the way that you have to play this game is make sure that you want this character. Assure that you have that amount of pulls. Get yourself the copy, then stop. This is going to be a game where single pulls are going to be clutch. So you really have to be like, okay, this is the character I want. I've saved. Get it exactly, then stop. And if you do that, this might be one of the easiest games to play free-to-play and low spender.
Ultimately, what I think will really matter.
So basically what I'm saying is don't be greedy and stupid.
Regards to all of this is how they actually treat the pull economy and how many resources you get premium currency wise, alongside how they decide to treat the constellation system upon release and in the future. As it stands, we have plenty of pulls and resources to obtain characters and weapons in the game, but who knows, things can change from beta to launch. The final section that I wanted to talk about will be short, since I would rather players experience the story for themselves, but something I'd like to inform you guys about specifically is the story in concept and execution. To start, the protagonist does talk, but as per Arknights tradition, we are a faceless, masked character who is now the hero of the game. Spoiler free, I will also mention that the story itself felt decent, great, and even excellent during some parts, but I will admit that the long stretches and mix-ups of me having to fight, then explore, and then build my base did at times take away from my overall immersion of the story to pay attention to exactly what was going on. Interestingly, the game also has a skip and summary of dialogue feature currently available in the beta, but in general, I felt that the story was well paced, didn't feel too obnoxious or unrealistic at all, and I did also enjoy the varied voice acting between characters, zones, and different NPCs. That's going to be it for today's video though, guys. As I'm sure you could tell, I've disappeared a little while.
Great video.
This is literally what I've been doing for, at this point, 100 hours or so. To be honest,
yeah, I'm gonna be real. That was a great fucking video, man. I'm very excited for, and here's the link if you guys want to go like and subscribe to that guy. Very good channel. I'm very excited to see all of the new faces that are going to start popping up in the Arknights Enfield community, and I can't wait to go through all of the previous Arknights community content creators and see how many of them shit on me in the past, and then see how many of them still ask me to go on the Gacha cast whenever I host that shit. It's going to be good. PvP is going to be enabled, and there is going to be fucking war when that game drops. I actually can't wait. But yeah, Kana seems like a great guy. Yeah, great video. Like, comment, subscribe, and catch you on the next one. Peace.